This is why a report would be really relevant right now.
But Mr. Lyons,
I know, I understand. I apologize.
I agree with you. Trooper, do you recall how long of a distance on the roadway you observed what you believed to be Mr. Lyons' vehicle traveling behind the other vehicle you were observing?
About 1.5 car lengths.
Excuse me, I'd ask for clarification. Is that how far behind he was or how long you observed it?
How far behind he was.
The second part of the court's inquiry in response to what Mr. Lyons is trying to ask is, you made that observation. Over how long of a distance did you see that, and how far away were they from you when you first made that observation?
I would say, and this is approximate, I can't give a specific feet or anything like that, but approximately a half mile was how long that the following too close took place. And I didn't observe that until he was approximately, and this is approximate, right just before he passed me in the crossover.
Oh, okay. No, I got a perfect question for this. This is pretty awesome. So, why didn't you pull the RV over for speeding, if that be the case?
So, the RV wasn't speeding, or the camper wasn't speeding, but if there's somebody that's going a certain speed in front of a person, and that person is traveling at a speed that's faster than that person, they're going to, get closer to that person. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I mean, how long do you think it takes for someone to overcome 200 feet when they're going 85 and the speed limit that you have announced that I've done? How long do you think it takes them to overcome 200 feet when someone's doing 80 miles an hour?
I object, Your Honor, that's irrelevant also.
Incorrect.
Overruled, she can attempt to answer. I guess the question would be more, over the period of time you observed those vehicles, did you observe Mr. Lyons' vehicle close the distance between him and the camper trailer?
Yes. Is that what you're asking?
I'm not sure exactly what he's asking.
I'm asking if you're saying that it was a half a mile, which is 1,000-something feet, right? And I'm traveling behind this guy too closely for a half a mile. Wouldn't I have run into him in less than 200 feet? If I was within the following too closely, which your guideline is a 2-second rule, right?
Mr. Lyons, I don't believe that was her testimony, but let's clarify.
Her testimony was that I followed him too closely for a half a mile.
No, her testimony was she observed you for a half mile. The court recalls her testimony was she didn't observe you traveling too closely until right as you got by her area at the crossover. Trooper, is that what you would testify to?
Yes.
Okay. Then did the defendant continue to follow too closely?
After passing the crossover?
Yes, after your observation.
Yes.
And how is that possible?
I object, Your Honor. That question takes us nowhere.
Does it not? I mean, it seems like a relevant question to me. If you make an observation at this point that I am following too closely, and then it takes you time to initiate the stop, correct?
Correct.
If I just kept going and he's doing 80 and I'm doing 85, wouldn't I smash into the back of him?
Same objection, Your Honor. There's no testimony as to what the speed was
Which
after
we're-
they went.
All right. The objections overrule, I believe, and Mr. Lyons, you can correct me, but I believe the question you're trying to ask is after her initial observation where you and the other vehicle passed her location, Trooper, did that vehicle continue to travel too closely, or what did you observe after they passed your location? And I'll follow up with, and did you observe same speeds or did something change?
So the speed that I observed was at the time was long before the crossover. So, what speed you were going a half mile past the crossover and what speed the camper trailer was going, I can't testify to that.
Yeah, I'm not. That wasn't. I'm asking you, is if you saw me close the distance within a half a mile, and right before you made your observation, I was too close, according to you. Then you say I continued to follow him, but if I was doing 85 miles an hour and he was doing 80, and I was too close, how could I continue to follow him?
Just wait. It's a relevant question. Trooper, did Mr. Lyons' vehicle continue to travel at 85 miles an hour the entire time you observed it after your radar reading?
I can't testify to that.
Okay. And since we're there, and you were sitting in the center, right? Is this completely flat, straight ground that you're at? It's your normal hangout. You should know the terrain.
Let her answer the question she's thinking about. Do you recall?
I mean, if we...
Sir, give her a second. Do you recall, Trooper, the terrain where this took place?
I believe that it was flat.
Ask your next question.
Okay. Do you recall which mile marker you sit at when this occurred? Do you remember where you were at? The approximation. You don't have to get it down to the feet.
Your Honor, I submit that's evidence already in the record that's on the ticket.
But the trooper doesn't have the ticket in front of her. Trooper, do you recall, or would you need to look at a copy of the ticket?
I know that it was in Hanson County, but for a specific mile marker, I would need to refer to the ticket.
All right. Mr. Davies, you can show her a copy of the ticket. If that will help refresh her recollection.
Mhm.
All right. Can you try to answer the question now? Approximately what mile marker were you by?
337.
And if we pulled up mile marker 337 on the map, do you think it would be flat? That's your testimony?
Flat in comparison to what?
It's incredibly pertinent information when someone is driving on a flat surface and their cruise control is set at 81 and they go up a slight incline and the engine recognizes a power down and powers up. And at the top of the hill, they start to go down a hill and they're speeding. At no fault of their own because they're on cruise control. So if it was completely flat the whole way where you were aiming your gun at, then 85 seems a little excessive and I would agree with you. But if there was a hill, then I don't agree with you.
All right, so you've explained your reasoning behind the question. I believe still the question was, you said you thought it was flat, completely flat. Were there any hills, or what can you describe about that location? To the best of your recollection.
I believe it's flat. Mile marker 335 is Riverside Road, and that's a bit of a curve. And that is just to the west, so to the east of that would have been 337, which would be flat, I believe.
Okay. Then, is there any way to prove that it's flat?
I'm sure there is.
And did you bring that proof today?
No.
At this point, let me check over some stuff real quick. Can you tell me what mens res is?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Mens res.
Mens rea.
No, it's sustained. It's irrelevant to our proceedings today.
It is?
It's-
Man. But you're saying there's a crime here, right?
The mental aspect of this crime is not relevant. It's whether you committed it or not. Certain crimes do not have a mens rea element. So
Okay. Okay. Now, you know what? I'm just gonna rest and see what happens.
Mr. Davies, any other questions for the trooper?
No, I don't think so.
Trooper, you can step down. Thank you. State have any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Lyons, before I give you an opportunity to proceed, if you would like to testify, you can do that, but I have to give you an oath first, and you can do that from there. First, at this juncture, the court is going to dismiss the drug paraphernalia charge. The trooper was not able to recall with any specificity the item that gave cause to proceed with further searching. I understand the trooper's concern with the totality of the circumstances, and in her determination, she was factoring in everything she observed. But at the same time, just because Mr. Lyons was uncooperative at the time does not necessarily mean he was engaged in any criminal activity per se. And so the court doesn't believe there was sufficient grounds to proceed with the searching of the vehicle. So the drug paraphernalia charge is going to be dismissed. Now, Mr. Lyons, we still have the driving while suspended charge that is pending. The court will point out if you were charged with speeding, you made very good arguments that I would probably not find you guilty of speeding. But the issue here is whether the officer had a reasonable, articulable suspicion to stop. She believed you were speeding. She hasn't proved necessarily that you were, but the threshold is she stopped you because she thought you were speeding.
Okay, and before we proceed any further, because of my driver's suspension thing that we got going on, I can easily have someone fax over